The problem that most people have, and you might have experienced this too, when people are trying to start a business, they're obsessed over the wrong thing. They're actually obsessed over trying to sell a solution instead of obsessing over solving a problem. And I guarantee you, if you change that around and obsess over solving someone's problem instead of trying to sell a solution, your entire life and business will change and finally start to feel like it's working, because it will be. So today we're talking about how to practically implement this and how you can find out even what people want to buy, because that's kind of the key. If you find out what people want to buy, selling becomes easy. Now you just have to figure out how to get that thing. But also, you have to look at a couple different things, like what's the competition in the space? Because sometimes people find something that people want to buy, but somebody else is already doing better than them, and it's hard to break into that space. Or there's a lot of different things that can happen. So today we're going to talk about the practicality. How do you actually find something that people want to buy that you can afford to start selling them without having any money, and how you can build your business from having absolutely nothing and make sure that what you're going to do is going to be successful. So let's dive into it.
Yeah, that's exciting, and I like the way that you put that right from the beginning. Problem solving and offering what is the problem first, right?
Yep.
When you have to start with that.
Yeah,
it's like,
definitely.
what is the problem out there? And I remember years ago going to a golf outing, and you had one or two choices. You could stand along the fairway and watch the golf game, or you could buy a very expensive seat and sit in the seats. And then I noticed a couple years later, I started going, and these people had an umbrella that, when the umbrella was not open, it had a curved seat that you could place and just set
Interesting.
in. And so instead of having to carry a chair and an umbrella and your lunch, you carried your umbrella, and you could walk the course and follow your favorite golfer, but you could also sit there as well. So as somebody really was very creative with figuring out what the problem here was and meeting that need.
That's genius. Yeah. A lot of times I think we fall into the trap of, we find things that we really like to do.
Yeah.
And because we want to do that thing, we hope that we can turn that into a business. And so we're out looking for customers. And there's a huge problem with that. You should never be looking for customers. You should be looking for a group of people who have problems and then obsess over solving it for them. That's it. Like you just said, somebody was out touring a golf tournament and they saw all these people carrying all this stuff, huge problem. He probably had the problem himself, or she, whoever created it. This person probably had that problem themselves, saw a ton of people with that problem. And that's actually where the magic happens. When you get to solve a problem that you want solved and a large group of people want solved. That's where passion can actually come into play. And like we talk about on the show all the time, you're not going to do anything unless it's fun. You're not going to actively, and I should backtrack, because you will do things for other reasons than it being fun. That's not a completely true statement. Like, you'll go to work to get paid. You'll do certain things because you have to do them. But generally, you're not going to be passionate. Like, you're not going to passionately do something unless it's fun or giving you energy. Because people only do things because of one reason, and that's because they feel like doing it. Yeah. It's I've heard a really good analogy, and I've experienced it myself. On Christmas morning, right? You can't sleep. You want to actually wake up. You're excited. You're excited to go open your presents. You're excited. You feel like doing it. But on a morning when you have to go into work at a job you maybe don't like as much, again, you're not feeling it. You're not feeling like it. So people aren't going to do something unless they feel like it. So that's actually one of the key tips I like to tell people who are looking to start a business or looking to pivot in their business is make sure you don't just solve a problem that other people want only, and make sure you're not also just trying to solve a problem that only you want solved.
Yeah.
There's an in between there
Yeah.
where you can find a problem that you want solved and you like solving, and a large group of people also want solved as well.
Yeah.
So
And I like that you brought into the fun aspect,
it's got to be fun.
because you can do something for a while, but the fun part makes it sustainable. And we've talked about this on this show many times, even in the area of other habits
Yep.
that you create. If it's fun, it becomes repeatable and it becomes sustainable, right?
Becomes a habit.
And so if there is a reward, the reward of fun, because even if you're doing something in your, I as a coach work with people all the time that are in transition.
Yep.
And it's interesting because they're transitioning from a very well-paid position, and the money itself is not enough to. Money's important to them, but it's not enough to drive them
Nope.
to stay in it long term. So they're looking to transition into something that they really like to do, or they believe could be fun, or they believe it could be life-changing for them. And so they'll make that move just because what they're doing is not fun.
Yeah, it's true. And I think we should talk about that for a little bit, of something being fun and repeatable, because what a habit is, man, I was thinking about a book title talking about stop trying to stop habits and stop trying to start habits. And the key word that I would circle on that book is trying. Because we've talked about this on the show before. You've told me this and explained this to me, that the fundamental of a habit, the principle of a habit, what a habit truly is. A habit cannot be. It's not that it's not. It's that it cannot be something that you try. And I also don't even know what the word try really means. I've not ever been able to think of a context that the word try actually exists. Because like when somebody says, yeah, I'm going to try that food, what they're really meaning is I'm going to eat that food. And if I don't like it, I'm not going to eat it again. But trying doesn't really it's not really a thing. It doesn't really exist. So anyway,
You're right.
That's maybe a whole nother podcast.
But you're
Yoda
right.
said it really well.
Yeah,
There is no
it's
try.
Yoda. Yeah, I love that Yoda. There is no try, only do.
Yeah.
And that's correct. And however, what we teach, it's in the book. It's on our podcast over and over again.
Yep.
If it's something you're having fun and repeatable, if you're having fun, it will become repeatable.
Yep.
And the more repeatable it is, it becomes a habit.
Yep.
Because now you're not trying to do anything. You're just doing it. You're getting up, you're going to the gym, you're going for the run, whatever you're doing, you're being creative, you're writing songs, you're producing music, whatever that passion is, it begins to flow out of you. And all of a sudden people say, how did you write that book? Or how'd you write that song? Or how'd you produce that particular, how'd you make that business happen? And, I was, it was the Lego movie with Pharrell Williams, right?
Yep.
And he basically says, we were just kids having fun in a garage producing music, and it went one way. And then there's always a time in the cycle of success, you'll hear where guys will lose that
every
and they'll
time.
have to come back to that.
Yep.
And I think that's what it is. So how do we stay in that? But getting back, I know you want to get back to that point.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, because I think it's really important in looking for what
I think
people need.
This is really foundational, because we're about to talk about how to practically choose your business and how to practically choose a business that you can start for free. Or if you have some money, you can start, it depends, but I want to focus on the ones that you can start for free, because in my opinion, those are the best kind of businesses to start. Turning something from zero to infinite is my favorite. But this is so foundational because it has to be fun. I've tried to, again, there's that word that I don't know what it means, but I've tried to do things and make myself get in routines and make myself build these block schedules and these calendars. And what I found is there's nothing that can motivate me like the thing I'm doing being enjoyable. And so the more the thing is that's enjoyable, the more I'll just do it obsessively. Nobody has to tell me to do it because I want to. And that is a principle that I think people don't understand is I was trying to go to the gym a lot. And I'm like, I wanted to make a habit of going to the gym. But when we psychoanalyze that and go all the way back, I'm not trying to go to the gym. I'm trying to lose weight. I'm trying to put on muscle. And when we go back even further, I'm not trying to lose weight or trying to put on muscle. I'm trying to have sustainable energy. And we go back even further. It's like, I'm not trying to have sustainable energy. I'm trying to have more time to do what I love to do with those who I love to do it.
Sounds like you went through the coaching system we have of identifying the real problem.
Absolutely, I did. And when you go all the way back to that, you go, oh, okay, well, I don't really want to go to the gym. I actually had to come to terms with that. The gym is crowded. There's a lot of people there. Sometimes you can't get on the machine you want, things like that. It wasn't fun. Break it down. I don't need to go into a tangent.
Yeah.
It just wasn't fun. But I was trying to break through to a point where it would maybe become fun. And there were some days that were fun, but those days were just when I was with the boys. And the thing that was fun about it was not being at the gym. It was being in a group of community. But then I'm like, sometimes it's hard to get our schedules all aligned and things like that. And like my brother Dave, he's got jujitsu that he goes to. And I'm guessing the reason he goes to it is because he's back here. It's fun, right? Yeah. And he's got that group of guys. And so, I started diving into like, what's fun for me? I like this principle of being able to do things like throughout the day and work out. And I found something that's really fun, and it's called workout snacks, which we could do a whole nother pod on that. But it's basically like I'm doing 100 push-ups a day, but I'm only doing a couple push-ups I'm basically working out for 2 minutes every hour for 10 hours, which adds up to be, 5 minutes for 5 minutes every hour for 10 hours, which adds up to be 50 minutes, which is generally what they tell you to spend at the gym. And the results are the same. I've got energy, I'm building muscle, but I can work out people are like, how many times a day do you work out? I'm like, I work out 10 times a day. You only work out once.
And I bet, but
it's fun.
I'm guessing that none of those are on your blocked.
No, I have no blocks.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
The blocks are all the things we don't really have fun doing.
So blocks are,
right?
You know what they call a group of prison cells? They call it a block.
I mean, what, right? You don't really have to put anything on your calendar that's fun.
You know what stops you from having fun? When something's blocking you. You know what people don't want? They don't want to be blocked in.
That is so
Why
good.
are we blocking our schedules?
Is so good.
It's like, and it took me so long because there's so many books out there. There's so many, there's so many people that they found a system to get things accomplished. And the reason that system works is because you're forcing yourself to complete tasks that are required for an outcome that is desired. So there is going to be a time where you have to do things you don't want to do. There just is. And to get to certain results.
Sure.
But my goal is to continue to get as many of those things to people who actually want to do them as possible. Because that's actually what's really cool about a business is there are people who love to do what you hate. And you have to do it all at first. But if your mission the whole time is like, I'm going to do this until I can make enough money to hire David, who loves to do editing and loves to do the nitty gritty stuff. And then I'm going to have him hire somebody who likes to do things or he doesn't like to do. And then you just keep scaling down because the reality is you were not created to do things alone. That's when you have to use a block system. When you're a solopreneur, when you have no plans of growing, when your belief is that nobody can do it as good as me, so I'm just going to be the one to do everything, that's when you get burnt out and that's when you can't be sustained. And people will, the guy who, yeah, that's a whole nother topic. That's a whole nother topic. I don't want to deviate too far.
I was thinking as you were talking, do you know what a day is that you live in the blocks? A daily grind.
It is.
It's a grind. And, that word has been glorified and some, keep grinding, but you keep grinding, you're going to burn out.
Yeah. When you grind something for so long physically, like if you're like grinding down a stone, eventually it turns to nothing.
So I'm going to set you up for where you're going with this. When you've heard it said before, when you really find out what you love to do, you never work a day in your life.
That is true.
It is absolutely true.
It is absolutely true.
But what you're going to talk about, I think, is kind of how to find out what I love to do and that people group that have that problem that I can help with. So for me, I am never working when I'm coaching.
Yep.
Because I fell in love with coaching years ago before I knew what it was. And I thought it was just like athletic coaching and things like that, but I didn't realize there was actually what I do, which is one-on-one coaching. But I never feel like I'm working or I'm tired. Now,
oh no, my coaching session, I don't want to do this today.
Exactly. I wake up and most of my clients, you're one of them, will say, when he answers the phone, how can he always say, "Hi, I'm so great"? On the other end, it almost sounds like it's hype, right?
Yeah.
But it's really not. It's because I'm very happy that I'm in my happy zone of doing what I like to do.
Yep. Yeah. And you're also solving problems for people the whole time. Which is why, because so money is not a thing either. And money and trying are the two things that don't actually exist. Money is simply a certification. I love the way Myron Golden says it's basically a certificate of value, because money doesn't actually have any inherent value. You can't, even gold is the gold standard, but gold actually, what's so interesting about gold is it's completely useless to survival. You can't eat it. You can't live with it. Like you can't really build a house with it. It's too soft. You can't, you can plate stuff with it, pave it. It's beautiful, but that's all it really is it's beautiful and it's eternal. But it doesn't actually have any, what's interesting is real value, but it's a representation of, hey, this person, he collected so many gold coins or so many $100 bills or whatever. He's a millionaire. The reason he's a millionaire is because he transacted enough value for people and they kept certifying him. So the more dollars you have, the more certificates of value. There are ways that you can steal from people, rob people, but it always comes from creating value. Even if you're held at gunpoint, the reason somebody will give you money is because you're saying, if you do not give me this money, I will kill you. So even that person is creating value. It's just, it's anti-value, but the value they're creating is, I will not kill you if you give me your money. And the person says, that's valuable. Here's my money. So even when you're being robbed, even if people can create false value, they can trick you, they can con you. But the only reason that you've ever given somebody money, even if they're a con artist, is because you believed they were going to deliver value back to you. And if they didn't deliver value back to you, that's what's called stealing. And that's what's so interesting, but there's no transaction that can ever occur without value monetarily. It's you believe that value will occur. Now, a good, honest business person is when I pay you for something of value and you deliver me back more than I thought I was going to get. That's a person who everybody raves about. They go, man, you got to work with so-and-so. I only paid them $1,000 and they gave me $5,000 worth of value back. and that person will become rich because he's serving people. And we think of money as like, I'm going to get money. I'm going to get something from that person. No, money comes from getting something to a person. It's a certificate of that person delivered so much value to me that I'm going to give that person money. And what they're doing is they're actually voting for that person to have power, which is very interesting. Anybody that gives somebody money is voting for a person to have power. And the reason they're voting is because that person creates so much value. So I want that person to create more value inherently. And so when a person becomes a billionaire and transforms a city for an entire people group, for an entire town, city, whatever, like we see it in a town near us called Beloit, there's a billionaire who started this company called ABC. She's transformed a whole downtown. Guess who benefits from it? Everyone. The reason people gave her so much money in the first place as she was building her business is because she did it in, at least from my perspective, a way that created so much value for others that people are like, keep going. That's what money does. Money says, you're creating value, keep going. And every time I give you more money, it's because I trust you. I'm electing you. I'm voting for you to keep doing a good job for me and everybody else. And so if you're not serving other people, you can kiss money goodbye. If you're trying to get money from people, you can kiss it goodbye. If you're trying to get people to serve you, you can kiss money goodbye. But if you can find something that you want solved and somebody else wants solved and a large group of other people want solved, all you have to do, which is absolutely crazy that it's this easy, figure out how to solve it. That's it. I think about it really clearly like this. Say there's this river. It's got white rapids going across. There's a rope swing that allows you to go to the other side, right? And on the other side is food. And on your side is no food. And all these people who are really nervous that if they fall off the rope swing, they're going to fall into the water and die. They're hungry. But there's this one guy. He's jacked. He's Tarzan status. He's like, his job, all he does is swing on this rope across the river and get food. And what the people do is they're like, hey, man, if you go get me some food, I will give you this gold bracelet and you can melt it down. You can use it to do other things. Like, they want him to be wealthy. They want him to have a big house. They want him to do well because they want him to keep going and getting him food. So if this guy's willing, he can keep swinging on the rope. Guess what's going to happen? People are going to form a line. And they're going to say, will you go get me some? I'll give you anything. I'll give you whatever you need. I'll pay you. Please go get me some food. We're starving. They're going to form a line. And this guy has a business now because he was willing to do it.
Yeah. So, and someone did that, I don't know how many years ago. And I had a need when I was in Florida. The rental car company that I rented from, which is a whole nother story of meeting a need, right? Ran out of cars. So what do? Call Uber.
Yeah, 100%.
And what does Uber do is just exactly what you're saying.
Yep.
It helps
Please
people.
come pick me up. I'll give you my money.
Yeah. And you don't even have to call them, and you just push a button.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And you get a name and you get the price and everything. You hit it and they're there within 5 minutes.
Yep.
Right. So somebody created that. So I'm curious and I'm asking all these questions. How much do you make? What does Uber take? Man, Uber's doing well.
Yep.
Right. Same thing. Man, we live in Illinois. And it was when I got home from Florida, it was -10 the next day. So that night, who wants to go out to get something? But you can call a company that delivers your food.
Instacart or Uber Eats or what's the main one?
Yeah.
DoorDash. Yeah.
DoorDash.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. 100%. They and that's actually the rope swing analogy. Exactly. I'm hungry. I want food.
Exactly.
I don't want to go out in the cold. It's dangerous.
And
Jimmy John's.
And what's
DoorDash.
funny is you transcended time.
Yep.
You talked about, Tarzan bringing food. Fast forward, DoorDash to the modern. What's going to be in the future? What's the future need going to be that people say, I need food?
Yep. It's so fascinating too. Like with DoorDash, people will overpay for food. They don't care. Like food's already pricey at McDonald's, Taco Bell, all these places. It's already you're gonna maybe spend $10 to $12 on a meal, and then they're gonna pay an extra $10 to $12 for the delivery and the tip. I actually saw a post on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, and it was like, what's one thing that seemed like a good idea at the time, but you regret shortly after? And it was like paying $26 for a $12 meal on Uber Eats or on DoorDash. And they're like, but you do it a lot. It seems like a good idea at the time, but it's really a bad idea later. But the reality is it's a bad idea because you realize maybe it wasn't worth it, but it was worth it at the time when you were hungry and didn't want to go out and get food, right?
Hunger drives us to a lot of things.
Ooh.
To a lot of things.
Just like, man, we could go so many directions with this. People want to know though, how do you find out what people want to buy? I think that's really easy to answer. What do people want? You have to, talk to some people. Mm-hmm. You have to, do some research. Right now we have ChatGPT, so you could be like, what's the number one thing that people want to buy from me in this area right now?
Yeah, right. And one big overriding is always convenience. At least in our country, in America. Yeah. Like you just gave the illustration. Somebody would actually pay, a company to deliver a McDonald's meal to them, and the delivery is more than the meal itself. That's all convenience. Yep. That's all about convenience. Yep. That's why I would call Uber, is because I conveniently wanted to take my wife out to the sunset and have dinner. And it's convenience is a lot of things, like, right?
Yeah.
Invention of vacuum cleaners and dishwashers and
convenience.
Clothes washers and then convenience over and over again.
It proves that people inherently value time more than they value money.
Bingo.
Yeah.
For sure.
It proves that. So that's a really good way to figure out a business. And that's what a business is. Generally, it's you doing something that saves a person time or saves a person. It's generally, what's interesting about a business is most businesses don't focus on saving people money. They focus on saving people time. Some businesses focus on saving people money, but it's not really saving people money because they still have to go buy it. It's just less than another person, right? Or less than a competitor. Like the Walmart model, they say save money, but you're not saving money, you're spending money when you go there. In all reality.
And even in the money world, like in the investing world, you pay money to work with a financial advisor.
Yep.
You pay money.
100%.
Okay. So you're not just paying for money, you're actually paying for the time it would take for you to research.
Yeah.
And make the right choice.
That's exactly.
And invest. And you just say, no, I'm just going to pay for that to be done. I don't have the time to look into that. I don't have the expertise to look into that. And that's another thing that we pay for, right? We pay for time and we pay for expertise in an area. We're willing to give our money to that.
Yeah. And an expert is just somebody who's spent more time than you in a specific field.
They can do it quicker and faster.
That's actually really cool. In my opinion, it's really cool that things actually take a long time to master. Because if they didn't, no one would transact with each other. But the fact that it's taken me such a long time to master media and lead generation and call setting for companies and getting people customers, if you could just learn that in a week or two, everybody would be doing it for themselves. I used to wish it was quicker to learn, but now that I'm 5-6 years in, I'm happy that it's taken this long, and I still feel like I don't know enough. We've figured out some things that work, but I'm like, man, there's so much more to learn. It's like the more you learn, the more you realize how little you know. And but I'm glad that took 5 to 6 years, because now the reason people pay me is because they say, I don't want to spend 5 to 6 years learning how to do that, which is so interesting, but that's the actual value prop. So one thing that's so beautiful about that too is it also didn't cost me very much to start. And you can start a business for free. And I'm a big proponent of media businesses and marketing businesses and things like that, because it's something that there's so much demand for. People need customers, but they either don't want to go out and find them because they're so busy doing their business, or they don't know how to go out and find them because they never learned that skill. It's a whole skill in and of itself. And it's one of my favorite types of businesses to run and start. But there's also businesses there's businesses that if you look at what is a thing that other people don't want to do, but maybe interests you, like maybe you like the concept of plumbing or electrical or drywall or construction. So the key is to find something that actually takes a decent amount of time to learn. And by decent amount of time, I'm thinking 6 months to a year. Because somebody generally won't go out and I'm not going to learn how to fix my furnace. A, because there's a little bit of danger to it. If I mess it up, something could happen. Or B, it's just too hard to do. So I'm going to waste a whole weekend or a whole week and potentially not even have it solved. I'll just call the guy. So if you find something like that where it takes, and what I'm saying here is interesting. It's an interesting way of saying learn a skill. But I've heard people say learn a skill, but what's a skill? A skill is simply something that takes an extended period of time to learn that is valuable to people. You can learn skills that are invaluable to people, like potentially juggling. I mean, there's some people that are interested in watching you juggle, but there's not a huge market for that.
Yeah, I really like what you're saying, because you're capturing two things that you said. One, you're talking about learning how to do something that maybe is of value to another person, and that could be something is like for me, I don't want to plow my driveway.
Yep.
I know a guy that has a snow plowing. Now, somebody might say, well, that's not a huge high level skill. Well, it would be for me. I would be disastrous in a truck with a snowplow. I'd take out the neighbor's lawn.
Mailboxes, dogs.
I've already taken out my neighbor's mailbox once, but I would. So to pay for that, absolutely, I'm going to do that.
Yep.
And then the other thing that you're talking about is starting a business for free, right? You mentioned that.
Yeah, where it doesn't cost you anything.
It doesn't cost you,
it.
and anything it doesn't break you. You don't have to have a huge amount, right? So,
correct.
So when I'm in Florida, I took the half-hour ride, and my Uber driver asked him about everything. It was his car.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're subcontractors.
It was his car.
believe.
So the only thing he really needed was his car.
Yep.
And so there's certain things that all you need is what you have already, and the skill that you have already, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's how you get started. And then the other thing that I thought you brought up that was so good is you don't have to have a website and all of this stuff. Most businesses that they start out relationally.
They do.
Friends and family that you know, people that you knew that used to take their wedding pictures for, and then word spreads. Yep. And our coach even told us that, right? Referrals huge, and that doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, it's exactly true. So really, the answer to how do you find out what people want to buy, I think that's really simple. Just look at what people are buying, and then look at one thing that's really cool too is look at where there's still an opening in the market or a void. If you see I always use landscaping companies, but if you see 5 to 10 landscaping companies in your small town, that means that there's room for you, which is so interesting. But you know how many lawns there are?
Yeah.
One guy could maybe do if he's, I don't know, maybe if you're super efficient, you can do 15 a day. How many lawns are there in a town that has a population of 20,000 people?
A lot.
So can one guy with
And
15,
commercial.
one guy with 15 capacity a day handle everybody? No.
Yeah.
There's a massive market, and that's a high level value because it buys back people's time. People are willing to pay for snow removal, lawn care, things like that. But really, there's a lot of ways you can answer this question, but what do people already buy? And then what do you already have? So picking a business like being an Uber driver, being an Instacart shopper, there are a lot of these 1099 jobs where you use your car and you go deliver Amazon packages. Amazing, right? When has this ever been a thing? Now, the key here is you have to look at it not like a job. You have to look at it like a business. And what businesses do is they take some of their money that they make and they put it back into the business to grow it. And that is something that people miss. So you can hack the system by being an Uber driver, being an Amazon deliverer. But if you're spending every single dollar, it's like a farmer who plants a crop. The crop comes up, he eats all the corn and all the seed. It doesn't save any to plant for the. It's like, and you're wondering why you're always broke.
Yeah.
You're crop to crop, you're paycheck to paycheck. You don't get it.
Yeah.
But it's just because you're not putting anything aside to grow.
Yeah.
So you have to look at what's next. Like when I bought my first camera, I didn't want to do weddings forever. I wanted to get into commercials and business videos and advertising and marketing. And so you had to take some of that money that you could go on vacation with or buy a fancier car with. And what you got to do is you got to buy lights and cameras and mics and hire staff and do things that can actually be assets to produce you more and more and more and more and more. And as you go, you end up like, whoa, 5 years down the line, you're like, I've got all this equipment that can produce me money. But it didn't just happen overnight. It happened by reinvesting and reinvesting and reinvesting. So that's one way.
And I'm just going to add one thing real quick to that, because I was just in a coaching session this morning with another young entrepreneurs, because that's what we do a lot. And he was asking about a particular event that he was wanting to go to, right? And I think he was initially looking at it as an expense. And I said, this is for your business. You have to look, when you reinvest in your business, you have to look at it as an investment, not an expense. And I think that is a really good point, especially for people that are just starting out building that business. Put your money into you.
Yeah.
When you put your money back into your business, it's going back into you.
Yeah. 100%.
And that makes you think differently about it.
Yep. And then, another really key question is, how do you get to a place where people want to buy the solution from you and not your competitor? Because some people may be like, yeah, I do want to get into this marketing game. Or I do want to get into landscaping or lawn care, or I do want to get into HVAC, or I do want to get into whatever, but there's so many other companies that are already doing it.
I'm going to throw my answer out and then I want to hear yours.
Let's do it.
Okay. So for me, there are the Tony Robbins of the world. There's high-level coaches, Brendan Burchard. But I make one commitment to my client, and that is, you will get 100% of me, and I will work completely with you towards your goals and relentlessly towards that. So basically, what I offer my clients is the best service possible, the best service possible to work with them on their agenda. So it goes back to what you said earlier, which I think was gold. And it was basically, if you look to how you can help, how you can serve, how you can meet that person's need, and not just how do I build my business, how do I get another client, how do I get another job. When you look at what can I do for Joey Nagel, what can I do for David Nagel, what can I do for them to help them reach their goals and dreams, I think the Bible says, give and it shall be given unto you.
100%. Yeah. No, that's phenomenal. It locks in a lot with my answer, and my answer is probably contrary to anything you've potentially ever heard. Maybe not anything you've ever heard, but my answer is this. Just go mow the lawn. Because I've talked to so many people that the biggest company in the area, they've never heard of them. So, like, you can go knock on your neighbor's door and be like, can I mow your lawn? Sure. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, what about, you're not going to go, hey, I know I'm not the biggest company in town. I know there's the big giant lawn mowing company out there, but you mind if I mow your lawn? No, you just go, hey, can I mow your lawn? Sure. I see. 'Cause did you wow. If you drive around your town and you see a bunch of yards that don't look that great, has the biggest company in town got to them yet? No.
Right. Yeah.
And you know what that is? If you're obsessing over trying to sell your solution,
Trying.
you're going to look at your competitors. But if you're obsessing over trying to solve the problem, you're going to look at all the lawns that need mowed.
And it's that trying when you should be doing just mow the lawn.
It's like, if here's the thing though. Remember what I said? Look for a group of people that have a problem. If you're driving around your entire town and every lawn looks immaculate, do not go into landscaping. Because there's no problem to solve. And that is the only way you can make money. But if you're driving a lot around your neighborhood and there's hundreds of lawns that need mowing and you have a ton of competitors, there's still room for you.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
Right.
And it's the simplest thing ever. If there's 5 marketing companies in your city and you go to all these business meetings and gatherings, which there are a lot of, or you just literally go knock on doors, walk into businesses and ask them how their marketing's going. Don't even try to sell them anything. Just do a survey. Just be like, hey, yeah, you guys have a nice business here. Who does your marketing? Just say that. Oh, we don't have marketing. You know, we wish we did. But so now those 5 other people who have marketing agencies, guess what? They haven't gotten to them, or they don't do what they want them to do, or they don't solve the problem. And what the best advantage is, most of your competitors are obsessed with selling their solutions. And you can tell by how much they like their logos, how big their logos are on their trucks, how much they post about themselves, how much they talk about themselves, how much they talk about how long they've been in business, how much they talk about how great of customer service they have. Like, who cares? Nobody cares about your business. They only care about their problem. And when you become the one who cares about their problem seemingly more than they care about it, you get the business. And so
Well
looking at
said.
competitors,
Well said.
it's incredibly irrelevant
Yeah.
because they say to have market domination in any economy is to have 10% of the market.
Interesting. 10%. Yeah.
So that means if somebody's out there dominating the market, there's still 90% left,
Yeah.
which is just wild to me. But
Yeah.
that's just how big the world is. That's how big the economy is. And when you think it's so small, you don't ever ask big questions and you never get big answers and you never solve big problems. But when you
Wow.
realize it's so huge, even your 20,000 person town is so big it can sustain 10 landscaping companies plus you if you wanted to start one. That's where the game changes for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. That's good. That's really good.
So I think that sums up the pod.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the key to starting your business is finding something that you like to solve and then seeing if there's a big group of people, or finding a big group of people who also need that thing solved too. You're going to be in a really good spot. If you find something that you don't like to do but people want done, you can do it, make some money, but you're going to get burnt out. So maybe you start there. If there's nothing else you can think of, you start doing plumbing, HVAC, electrical, or something maybe you don't love, but make sure you save some money so that you can get into that business that maybe does require a little more that you actually really do enjoy. And then once you get into that enjoyment mode, now it's a game and you want to scale it, you want to grow it, and you're creating more value for people because you like to and they want you to. Now you've got a sustainable business because it's fun. And if it's fun, it's repeatable. And if it's repeatable, it's scalable. Because guess how many more towns there are in just the country you live in that you can go repeat the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's fun and it's repeatable. It will be successful.
And those are all principles that we use with coaching.
Yeah.
And one thing that you said early on, don't go at this thing alone. You know, get a coach.
You need a mentor.
You know, get somebody that can help you with the stuff that goes between your ears, because that's what's keeping you from building your business. Just like you said, oh, that company, I can never be that company. No, you can be.
Yep.
You just have to get after it, and you have to stay motivated and stay encouraged.
Yep.
Because not everybody starts at the top.
No one does.
So
yeah, and it's you got to have a mentor, because a mentor will carry you through all those. Because it's the stop that starts most people, and what a mentor does is you remove the block, you remove the stop,
right?
Because you say that's not really in your way. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Proceed. That's not really in your way. Okay, proceed. You know, and you just keep saying, yeah, there's a lot of competitors out there, but do you know anybody at all who would want you to mow their lawn? Yeah, I've got 5 people. Call them and go mow their lawn.
Yep.
And then ask them if they know anyone else.
Now you got 5 more than what you had.
And then go ask them if they know anyone else. And then
they know somebody.
Then go ask those people if they know anyone else. And you do that for 5 years. You're like, dang, I've got a landscaping company.
Yeah.
And all I started with was the mower and the truck I already had.
Yeah. Stuff I already had.
I don't know. Could it really be that simple?
Yeah.
Could it really be as simple as having a mentor, having somebody walking you through the challenges that you put in your own way? And could it really be as simple as solving other people's problems and they're just going to hand you money?
I think it is. I think the part where you need help is identifying that passion.
Yeah. 100%.
Identifying that purpose.
Yep.
That's where coaching comes in over and over again, really getting down to the nitty gritty of what you really want in life.
Yep.
And how you want to live life, what you want in it and how you're going to live it. And those things, once you discover that, you're on your way.
100%. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Rich to Wealthy. That's what we do here. We want to coach you. We want to encourage you. We want to inspire you. But sometimes you have personal questions that we just can't answer over the camera. But Rich can answer those questions. So if you're interested at all in taking the next step in talking directly with Rich, you can click that link below, schedule a free call if there's any slots available this month. And we'll see you on the next episode of From Rich to Wealthy. Thanks for joining.